Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. It's Thursday. It is the 4-day eve of the 4th of July. It's right around the corner. I hope you guys have some fun things planned with the friends and the family. I'm happy it's falling on a Monday, not like on a Saturday, so you don't get that extra day to hang out with the fam and do some stuff. So we're gonna have a 3-day weekend up here. However, I don't want you to go all in with the partying and the family and stuff. This is gonna be a good opportunity to start snatching some deals, right? This is the kind of time when people kind of slack a little bit. You're not gonna have as much competition if you're submitting offers, if you're searching for deals. So I'm gonna ask you guys to play a little hard this weekend. Go out there, make some offers, try to snatch some deals up. You're gonna have less competition. I'm gonna show you tonight a strategy that we use to find good deals. And my good friend here, Mike Hill, is with us from Wholesale with Mike. You guys probably have seen us. We do some things together. He's really cranking down there in Southeast Florida. And Mike, welcome, buddy. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me, man. Pleasure.
Yeah. So what's going on in your world? What have you been working on lately?
Everything's going well, man. Business as well. Sometimes you hear some of the negativity. Oh, where's the inventory? But one thing I'm sure we'll talk about tonight: strategy and consistency. Just being consistent, guys. It absolutely works. Florida market is fantastic. People are overpaying right now, so that's a lot of what I'm seeing. So we'll talk about making some offers and making them kind of make sense. But other than that, just business wise and dad mode. Jay's off for the summer, so. Everything's good, man.
Fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You gonna hit up to Disney World or Epcot or any of these places?
No, she's too cool for that now, man. She's
Oh.
12 these days, so we're universal people only. So we're doing Islands of Adventure, little velocicoasters and Universal.
Did you guys go watch movies? Have you seen like the new Jurassic Park or Top Gun or anything?
I have not. I don't even remember the last one we saw, but I've got her hooked on Stranger Things now.
Yes.
So if I get any fans out here, we are doing this finale tomorrow.
That's tomorrow?
Yeah, man.
I thought there were 2 more episodes.
Yeah, both drop tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
Same.
Yeah, and we digress, but that's what we're here for, you guys. This is also a community, so if you see people in the chat, try to squad up. We've asked everybody where they're at right now, and so if you need eyes and ears and boots on the ground, look to see who's where, right? A lot of times we get stuck in our own head that we can only do deals in our own backyard, and that's part of the reason why I think a lot of people fail, is because they're not thinking broad enough that you can do this anywhere. And with the way that data is being democratized and the availability of information online and tools like I'm going to show you tonight, there is nothing that is stopping you from making money and doing deals. It's absolutely everywhere. But there's a lot of different strategies, right? So, Mike's got a strategy he's been teaching for years. And one of the things that Mike and I first aligned on was the idea of being able to do on-market MLS deals, right? Which is taboo. Oh my God, you can't do on-market deals. And I hadn't heard anybody really talk about it. So I reached out to Mike for like a year and he just ignored me. I don't know why. It's because I wasn't in Miami. What was the reason why you didn't want to connect, man? Come
on. It's probably just my fault, man. I was just like, I don't know. Like a lot of times, honestly, I think what happens is sometimes a lot of stuff comes at you, and people maybe have different propositions. And for me, a lot of what I like to do is just stay extremely, extremely focused, because the second I'm someone who's very easily distracted. So if I'm not laser focused, next thing you know, it's like, hey man, come to this crypto building seminar. Hey man, come check out this, drop shipping thing, right? So I typically kind of block out everything. I use a lot of filters on my email and I try to screen. And I think that was just a mistake of mine, not realizing, I guess, what you were doing, what you were offering. And so I did get in a little bit late. But once I got there, I was like, oh shit, man, like we're doing so much stuff in common. And not only are we doing in common where we're not actually doing, but we are doing the same things, but we're also, I think, complementing each other in different ways, especially the way you came with the software. And I was like, wow, like this exists. And so I was just a little bit late to the game.
Well,
I'm here now.
What's cool about your strategy though is you've done both, right? So we're going to show you some different strategies tonight to get deals and actually submit offers that people will accept. But there's off-market deals, there's on-market deals. Like you don't have to really pigeon yourself into one sort of thing. And even within that, there's wholesale and fix and flip and burr and buy and hold and short term and long term rentals and creative deal structure. What I would encourage you guys to do tonight is to not really think about one sort of strategy on the exit side. Think about, okay, let's find deals, right? A deal is something usually at a discount, right? Something that has got some meat on the bone. But it could also be something that cash flows, right? So if you're doing creative deal structure, or if you're doing, just kind of a rental property. But if you can get properties at a discount, you're way ahead of the game, no matter what strategy you use. So this is what we're going to help you guys do tonight. And whether it's on market or off market, anything else, this is going to be a strategy you're going to want to put into your tool belt. All right. So here's some of the problems we know that you guys are facing, because these are the same problems that Mike and I face in our business, right? Consistent deal flow. You're spending money on ineffective marketing campaigns, or you're spending time and effort on a campaign for lead gen that's just not giving you a good return on investment. You're writing a bunch of offers and you're not getting acceptance. You're putting offers out there, you're getting outbid, and you're wondering why. Like, why can't I get these properties? Or maybe you get an opportunity and you're like, yes, I got a lead, and you go and you run the numbers and you can't make the numbers work, right? You're like, oh my God, I have to submit a lowball offer to make this work, and it's just not coming together. And so what you end up doing is maybe, not looking at the comps you should be looking at, and maybe, forcing a deal to be a deal when it shouldn't be. Or you're looking at a property, you're like, man, what the heck is the after repair value on this home? Like, I don't know, what the ARV is, because I don't have any renovated comparables. Or if you're wholesaling, maybe you have properties that you've got under contract that look like good deals. You're putting them out there and buyers just won't take action. They're not giving you your assignment fee, and you're just thinking, man, is this really working? So those are a lot of things that we're all up against. Now, one of the things that we're all up against that maybe you're not sure, or you weren't aware of this, is that there's this whole concept of institutional buyers. Now, this has shifted a bit since the market has sort of started to pivot, but there are large institutional buyers out there, like hedge funds, iBuyers, companies like Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow Offers before they went defunct, hedge funds, private equity firms. These are guys that have really deep pockets, and they're backed by Wall Street, and they have different motivations than you do. They don't need to get a property huge discount for it to make sense for their portfolio. If they can play the appreciation game and play the long game and also get a little bit of cash flow, that could be a property for them, because they recognize that some of these other assets that are out there, like the stock market and crypto, aren't as much as a good investment as they used to be. So where are they going to reallocate their assets? And right now, a lot of them are choosing real estate. So in 2021, at the end of that, in the other third quarter, they were buying 18% of every single property was out there. It was approaching 1 out of 5 deals were going to institutional buyers. Now, this isn't just investment properties. These are all properties. That was up from 11% the prior year. And everybody thinks, based off that trajectory and that trend, it's going to be close to 30%. 1 out of every 3 properties is going to be going to an institutional buyer. Now, again, that has changed slightly because of the market shift, but the point is that they're one of the reasons why you're not having as much success. So the cool thing is that we've learned a lot of what their criteria is, because we've talked to several of these companies. They use data, they use algorithms, they use automation to find deals, so they could actually scale and get that kind of those amount of offers out there, because they've got billions of dollars to spend and they can't do things the old-fashioned way. So what we're going to show you tonight is actually tools that institutional level buyers are using to be able to do their business. Now, one of the things that we learned by having access to that data is that you do not want to go and invest and choose your market and your strategy based off of convenience, what's familiar, what's comfortable. You don't want to look for deals where you live for the simple fact it's close. You don't want to look for deals based off of what's familiar, like where you went to school or where your dad grew up, or where you guys vacation. Like, those are oftentimes how people choose where to look. And I'm becoming more and more convinced, based off the data, that where you look for deals is one of the most important factors in being successful. Because in a comparable driven business, you have to have comps that will help prove the values that you're shooting for. And if you're doing anything that where you measure a deal based off of a percentage of after repair value, if you don't have renovated comps, You can't prove ARV. How are you going to prove ARV if none of your comparables are renovated, right? So Mike, you've been really focusing on the southern southeast part of Florida, right?
Yep.
Fort Lauderdale, Miami. What are you telling your students when it comes to this sort of thing? Like how are they finding the areas to look, or is it more about, lead gen and strategy? What do you teach?
Everything start well, a couple of things I teach, and we'll get into some of these things a little bit later. But the main thing I think you just hit on the head is just data. I mean, so many people come to me, well, I heard that this area is supposed to be up and coming. My auntie said this about this area. My cousin works here and says XYZ. And that's, it's such a minuscule sample size. And I say, no, we're gonna start at data, and we're gonna look at things that have actually. So I mean, you can start off by saying, okay, I heard this area is up and coming, but then you have to go and do the research, and you have to do the intel. And so everything I do, everything I teach has to be based on actual tangible data. And that applies for whether I'm looking for deals or I'm trying to source my cash buyers. It all has to come from actual purchases that happen, that we can validate, that we can see in the public record. And so I think you hit that one right on the head there.
Definitely. And that's what we can help you guys do, right? So there's lots of data out there. And what's difficult about the data is it isn't always actionable. Maybe it's sitting in some sort of a spreadsheet, or it's a bar graph with a line going up and to the right. And you're like wondering, like, well, what does that mean? How do I take action on that? So we've done a lot of work over the last 10 years. When we built Privy, we actually built Privy to use in our own business. It was never intended to sell. It was to help us scale, do more deals, and automate the complicated and really tedious process of searching for deals, running comps, tracking markets. I'm an agent, right? And I've got the MLS. The MLS is not an effective tool for doing real estate investing. It's just not. It's a deep, dark hole of data that will just suck you in. Next thing you know, it's lunchtime and you haven't done anything. You haven't written any offers. Nothing has happened. So one of the things that we want to do is you want to make sure that you're using the information in a way that's actionable. And so what I have right here is the whole United States. We basically have this set up so that you can see every single thing that's going on in the nation. We've got off-market leads, we got on-market, we got public record data so you can research properties. And we give you the ability to be able to understand all of this right on your computer, right? So you can become a local market expert. So when I talked about tracking investor activity, then you want to be able to see where people are doing deals. So we've built some easy buttons into Privy. So right here at the top, it says fix and flip. This is going to plot on the map where all of these successful deals have been done. And this will help you basically understand where you should be looking for deals. Now, there's several criteria on where you should look for deals, and investor activity is one of them. But if you live in South Dakota, like I apologize, like you're gonna have a really hard time making any money there because there's no comps, right? If you're in Nebraska, maybe you could get some stuff done in Omaha, but there isn't enough data there to make this an effective place and make it worthy of your very limited time, right? Probably the majority of us aren't even doing deals full time. So, right. So we've got limited time to do this. So you don't want to be banging your head against the wall in South Dakota. You want to be targeting these areas that have high numbers. So we see large circles with blue and the high numbers. That's where you want to target. So what ends up happening ultimately is that it's more in the Midwest, honestly. So if you're in LA, I saw some people here in LA, you can find areas that are in your backyard. You just want to be very specific. So like if you're in California, Inland Empire, I saw earlier, Riverside, San Bernardino, two hot areas. Where the 105 and the 110 intersect right by Inglewood in USC, that's a really hot area, right? I'm not in LA, but you know why I know that is because the data, and I'm tracking a lot of these areas. So you can become a local market expert too. So if I was going to look at this map, I mean, Mike, based off of this, give me a couple areas you think would be, good to target from your experience.
Yeah, so I'd say, well, obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased in Florida. There's some really hot areas outside of Atlanta. So Georgia's got a really hot market. Certain areas in Virginia, not so much the, I guess, more rural side, but there's some areas of Virginia and North Carolina, I think could have some potential. And again, I'm again, back to my focus thing, I probably haven't even looked towards the Midwest. It's funny you said South Dakota though, because I lived there for 3 years, kind of randomly.
Did you?
yeah, randomly.
I don't
Um,
see you being like a South Dakota boy at all.
yeah, no, but it was a very different experience. Um, but yeah, those are kind of some of the areas that I'd be looking for. And again, we maybe start targeting these areas with some assumptions, like, okay, where do we hear maybe some up and coming areas? And I do have personal attachments. Like I went to school in Duke University, so I was in the Raleigh Durham area, so I know like that RDU area, there was a lot of research and development, hospitals, all kind of stuff, and people coming in. So that's a bit of an assumption you start with, but then it has to be validated. So then you go
Mhm.
there, maybe you read an article, Raleigh is one of the largest growing metro areas in the country. Okay, that's cool. It tells me maybe where to start, but then I have to go in and validate the data. So then you go in, and then with something like this, you can see. I mean, it's so cool that you can see it visually. It's not like I have to run through and try to maybe go through a property appraiser site and look at like all the different sales. It's like we can see it visually, and then from there you can really just kind of dig into the data. So those are some of the areas that I'd be potentially interested in, especially if I start to expand beyond Florida, which is my obviously my bread and butter, my primary market.
Yeah. And that's the thing is a lot of people at first it's uncomfortable to even think about doing deals in another market because they think, oh, I don't know Atlanta, right? But I guarantee you, if you research this data, you will become a local market expert in a fraction of the time that it would take an experienced investor to go there and learn that market by actually doing deals. So you can research these closed deals and become very familiar with what's going on just by looking at what's closed recently. So we zoomed in into one of the hottest areas in all of Atlanta. And so we're looking at these properties here. So there's a bunch of houses here that have actually been renovated. So, there's some properties here. Let's find one that looks interesting.
Yeah, and Benson,
Um,
why you're doing that, man? Let me just
mhm.
mention, guys, also in terms of being when we say expert in your market, right? What I find, especially working with a lot of new students, is that there's this issue with I think even a little bit of confidence where they're like, well, I don't know the area that well. And when we say being like an expert in your market, I kind of want you guys to lower the bar a little bit in the sense that I've dealt with students and some of my one-on-one guys, and they'll say, well, Mike, I don't feel comfortable talking to realtors because they know more than me. And I'm telling you, when you guys look at this type of data we're going to be showing you today, it really doesn't take, I don't want to say it doesn't take that much, but just because someone's a realtor, for example, it doesn't mean they're more knowledgeable. You can be an expert even if you're not physically in that location. Like I had a student, it's like, I didn't want to talk to this realtor. And then that same realtor sent him a CMA with comps that were literally 5 miles away from the property that we were looking at. And so just because someone has a title or a license or something, or maybe they live in the area, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're more of an expert than you are. A lot of people, especially in the realtors in the retail world, are not well versed on investment strategy. So in that sense, like I want you guys to look at this stuff and be very confident that even if you are in the area physically, you can still maintain the expert status. And when we say expert status in this context, meaning that expert enough to be doing deals, and you're probably a lot more knowledgeable with this type of, I guess, software and power and engine and everything behind this software than you would think. And maybe people who have maybe been in the profession for like 20 plus years.
Absolutely. You're so right. Like sometimes it's very scary to come out of your comfort zone, but with data, you accelerate your learning, you shorten your learning curve, and it's so much so you can become an expert so much more quickly and get comfortable. We're actually looking at a deal here. So this is our comparative market analysis that our system builds for every single property in the U.S. And we pull this data in many markets, in 60 plus markets, we actually have direct to MLS data. So it's the same data that agents and appraisers use. So you've got really good photos and you've got lots of updates, good property descriptions. So our system automatically pulls comps on these homes for you. So comping is a very difficult thing. It's a very subjective. There's some kind of best practices to it, but a lot of it is intuitive. And so we've baked some of that philosophy into our comping engine. So the comping happens for you in a fraction of a second. So these are all the true comparables of this house based off the major property characteristics. And then what we do for these properties is we bring in the before and after data so you can see what other investors are actually doing. So this property was purchased, it was an on-market deal, right? So we're gonna first thing, and I didn't go and cherry pick this property, it's just what it is. You say you can't find deals on the MLS, well, check this one out. This property was on the MLS. They bought it in June of last year. Here's what it looked like before they renovated it. Right here is what they bought it for. So they got it for 185 grand. They sold it for $448,000. They grossed $263,000. I mean, that's their top line revenue, right? 41% of the ARV, right? If you told the average wholesaler, investor, people out there that you found a property that was 41% of the ARV, they wouldn't believe you. But the data tells you it's true, right? So you don't have to believe it. And this is like, some, I don't know, higher being where you just have to believe that it's true, right? Like this is fact, right? This is a deal that somebody flipped, right? So they had it under construction for 239 days, 24 days on market. We got all the public record data about this property. So if you are actually building a buyer's list of buyers, if you're going to wholesale, well, who do you want to work with? Do you want to work with the guy at the local RIA who says they're a buyer and is just passing out business cards? Or do you want to work with somebody who's actually doing deals, right? HMR Properties Georgia is a company that's doing deals today. We know HMR is active. We know they can execute. We know they've got the ability to close on a deal because this deal's closed, right? And they're probably looking for a property right now. The other thing is we know what HMR Properties is looking for because this is evidence of their buy box. This house fits into their buy box. It fits into their buying criteria. So if you were to do the outreach and call these people, you now have a thing to talk about, that the deal they just closed, right? You're not calling them and saying, hey, do you want to be on my buyer's list? You're like, hey, congratulations on the deal you just closed on Edgewater Street. I'm an investor in the area and I'm looking to work with investors that are really understand, the market and are actually doing deals. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. I might have something that I can, pass over to you because not everything that we come across fits our buy box or we have the bandwidth for. So I'd be willing to send some properties over for you if you are interested, right? Now that conversation is way more interesting and useful for them when you actually use the data on the ground that's there to help them understand that you know what you're doing, right? You're not going to be a waste of their time. So every one of these properties that's here on the map is education. There's no book, there's no podcast, there's no coach like Mike Hill who's going to be able to tell you what a deal is in Atlanta, Georgia at this point in time, right? He's good at what he does, but that's not what he teaches you. You need to become that local market expert. And the only way you can get that education is by researching closed deals. So we could spend a lot of time doing this, and you should. Like if you were going to go to a new market, you probably look at the last 10 to 20 closed deals to really raise your level of understanding of that local market. And you can see what people are buying properties at, like what percentage of ARV. You don't want to use a universal formula like 70% minus construction cost. Mike, you're smiling because we've talked about this before, right, brother?
Yeah, it's
It
one of my
causes
main
people
points to talk about tonight. But yeah,
it causes people to pass up on deals. And so if you research this, you're going to find buyers in a market that are paying 65, 70, 75% of ARV, and you would have never believed that's even possible. The data shows it to you. Here's another on-market deal, 45% of the ARV. Like, if you're in this Atlanta market, how did you miss that deal? It's probably because you weren't looking. This one was an off-market deal. They got it at 29%, right? So that's a good deal that somebody got direct with seller. So this is fun for me to be able to look at those properties. And that's how I was able to build my buyer's list in St. Louis, because I'm doing this same strategy in the St. Louis market. And so right here, see this button, it says find similar active deals. Now what we can do is we can look for properties you can buy today that would have the margins that you're looking for that are similar to the properties that just closed. So we saw, a couple people here that had done some deals, but is there anything that we could potentially write an offer on today that would make sense financially? So let's look at a couple properties here to see if there's anything that might be a good deal that's on market. Now, I always like to say, any given Sunday, maybe there's a deal, maybe there's not, but let's look at one here that might have good numbers. So this property is for sale for 139 grand. And if we come down to the comparables, the reason why we flag this property as a deal is because we have fix and flips in the area. We've got 3 fix and flips that are comps of this house. And we've got several properties where the numbers say that this is lower than 60%, which is what I just set this up at. So look at these potential numbers here. The closest sold fix and flip just sold for $261,000. This one sold for 257. This one's on the market for 334. So, I mean, based off of this, Mike, like where would you say the ARV would land? Percentage of ARV?
It's a little hard. It's a little small on my screen. Let's see. We're at. Wow, that's at 139. Is they're asking?
We're at 139.
Wow.
So this is at like 50, 54% of the ARV.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
That's a deal. Now, being an expert wholesaler, could you wholesale this on-market deal?
Oh, absolutely, without question. And the
Without
fact of the
question.
matter is, how long would it probably take me to write that offer, present that offer, or maybe just pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, I want to make an offer on this. Like, what's up?"
Yeah, and you didn't have to cold call or skip trace or knock on anybody's door.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Like, what kind of a good ROI is that? Like, and listen, you may not win the bid. You might get beat out. But here's the thing: when you use this strategy and you put yourself in these hot investor activity areas, you can write at market prices, like list price. I could submit an offer at asking price and win that bid and still be in the low 50% of ARV range. And there are people in this market, you guys, that are buying at 60 and 65%. There's a huge margin there. This is a deal for somebody. Now, I know somebody said they were in the Atlanta market, so I'm going to share this with the group. Now, we have this cool sharing link that you can send these properties to your buyers list. You can send them to your agent. This one, I would love for somebody to go write an offer on that thing.
Awesome.
That's a deal. Now, listen, you guys, it took me 2 minutes to find that property. And that's even with Mike and I BSing and just going over stuff. There's deals like this all across the United States. So I wanted to show you how to do that. Now, just a couple things before this, I'm going to let Mike talk about his strategy because he has a very unique way of approaching the business. And it includes some of this, but because he's a data-driven guy and he's all about the numbers, it's going to work well with what I just showed you. But if you just in general wanted to run comps on a property, you could just enter the address right here in the search bar. It'll build a CMA. You can export lists. So if you wanted to export a list of, say, absentee owners from this, or foreclosures or zombie properties, we've got those for you too. And then if you wanted to upload a list, so let's say you got a list from your probate attorney buddy and you want to run comps on those, you can actually upload a list right here, and our system will pull comparables on hundreds or even thousands of properties in seconds and build that report for you so you know exactly what that property's worth before you start to take action on it. This is the power of data. This is the power of algorithms and automation. And we'll send deals like that one to you every single day, depending upon what market you're in. Last thing here, this property right here, I just got it under contract in the St. Louis market. And I used this exact same strategy that I just showed you guys. And I want to show it to you if I can get this to load. Apologize, my computer's crawling right now. It's on Mississippi Street, and it's this one right here. I have my searches. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, while this is loading, I'm seeing like really good questions in the chat. And I just want to remind you guys, because sometimes the chat goes by real fast. So if you have a question, please copy and paste it to the Q&A specific part. That way we can come back to you guys and answer them at the end. So we're not, like getting too much off topic, but I'm not seeing them, and I definitely want to answer them, but put them there. We'll get to them at the end.
Yes. Good idea. Nice. Thanks for noticing that. I'm distracted as well. So this property we found in Privy, once you save your search, you can just let the automation send you opportunities. I got an email about this one, and it was 185 grand. I got it for less than that. But check out the ARVs on this. There are fix and flips in the area. This one sold for 455. This one sold for 386, 368. So my ARV on this one that I found on market is between 41 and 50% of the ARV. And I have buyers out there that are buying at 60 and 65% of the ARV. This deal just fell into my lap. It's going to be between a $15,000 and $20,000 assignment fee on this one house that I found in Privy. No work, no cold calling, no nothing. And this is how simple it can be. So I want Mike to kind of talk to you guys about his strategy and how he approaches the business. He's been in the wholesaling for How many years, Mike? How long you been in the biz?
This is my 10th year.
10 years.
Yeah, so we're
So
10
if you're
years
looking
deep.
to glean any sort of information from somebody who's an expert at wholesaling, it's Mike Hill.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you guys for having me. I do have a couple slides prepared, so I am going to attempt to share my screen. Okay. Something just popped up, something new. So I think I got this.
There we go. We got it.
All right, cool, guys. So listen, I'm going to try to move quickly. Benson, thanks for having me today. I prepared a kind of mini presentation here, how to find wholesale deals faster and easier with Privy. So Benson's actually just demoed this for us. Like, we know Privy, like, it does its thing. The software is cool. And a big part of the reason why I think I'm here is because my framework, my ideology, the way that I run my business, it's very much in sync with how Privy works. And like, obviously I didn't know Benson before. It wasn't like designed that way, but then it just really gelled. And it lends itself very well to kind of what I'm doing in the operations, right? So like, yeah, let's get into here. So why are you guys here? I don't think you guys are the type of crowd where we have to convince you that wholesaling is a good idea. You know, we know that we're in an economy right now where like the 9-to-5 grind is not making it for most people. Like, you know, gas, food, inflation, all that stuff is, you know, skyrocketing, and you are here because you know wholesaling works. You know, you've seen it, you've seen the proofs, you've seen me doing it, Benson, where you're like, how can I do this faster and more efficiently? And that's one thing I'm always like striving to do is, I don't want to say that I'm necessarily lazy, but I'm looking for efficiency. How can I get, you know, sometimes in this business, if you can just get like a 1% edge, 1% better here, 1% better here, those things add up. And that's something, you know, I get a deal the day before the competition, and all these little wins, these little 1% increases, that's what will ultimately get you the deal, right? So I think that's the kind of crowd that we're dealing with tonight. So I think most of you guys know me. If anyone doesn't, just want to introduce myself really quickly. But I'm a full-time wholesaler. I work here in South Florida. I am college educated. I have a degree. I've never used it. I've never seen it. I just got tired of the 9-to-5 grind. I kind of have this disdain for corporate America and the society success plan. And that's, I think, why I'm very passionate about this business. But I've been here since 2012. It's like my 10-year anniversary. I flipped hundreds of houses. My first deal I did not spend a penny on. I quit my 9-to-5 in less than 6 months of doing my first deal. 6 figures in my next 12 months thereafter. I do about 20 hours a week in my wholesaling business personally. And I work with my students thereafter. Most of my work is remote. Again, I love teaching this business. And again, that's my YouTube channel. So if you guys aren't following me, I'd appreciate it. It'd be great. Come follow me, man. YouTube, just search Mike Hill Titan, I'll show up. But like I said, I'm focused on simplicity. There's no reason to make this thing complicated. And always looking for ways to kind of optimize what is working. So some of the questions you guys might have, like wholesale, I've heard about it, but does it still work? Is it too late for me? Is the market too saturated? You know, I hear there's no inventory. This is stuff I hear every day. My DMs are like full of this stuff. And I want to start off by ensuring you that wholesaling is alive and very, very well. This is from, a student of mine. These 2 deals, he did 15,500, and this 11,000 was in the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And this one, let's see what the date, 6/29. So this one he did yesterday. So this guy did about $40,000 in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So if anybody's doubting that like maybe you're too late to the game, you're not. Regardless of what you're out there, I'm proof of it. My students are proof of it. This thing is working. It's working well. It's a formula to it. It works every time, but you got to implement it correctly. I'm known for analogies. Sometimes it works, sometimes they don't. But it's kind of like the gym. If you make a workout plan, a diet plan, you stick to it, and you track it, it's going to work regardless, you know, of how you feel. It's going to work. But if you're just eating randomly and you're doing random workouts, you could be working hard. And I know some of you are working very, very hard. I'm not taking that away from you, but you may or may not get results. So really quickly today, what I want to run through is some of the keys to doing deals. So we're going to touch on data, targeting, building an avatar. I'll talk to you guys about what this means, narrowing your focus, your process, your planning, and then cash buyers, right? So one of the biggest keys to deals is obviously going to be good data. I think Benson already drove that point home. He's shown it to you. Privy has good data for you. Data to accurately find motivated sellers. Data is going to help you choose and reverse engineer your strategy. And you need data for the purpose of analysis. And I'll get a little bit deeper into what that actually means. And having good data is a must. You need this. It's a non-negotiable, but it's only a piece of the equation. It's really how you use that data that's going to ultimately determine your success. So I call this a tale of two wholesalers, which means you can have two wholesalers, same market, same resources, same budget. 6 months go by, one wholesaler does 10 deals, the other wholesaler does 0 deals. Well, why is that? Well, it's because information alone, and to an extent, data alone, it's important again, but it's not enough, right? I use the example of weight loss again. It's like everyone knows how to do it. There's all these books, the information's out there, but look how many people maybe try to lose a couple pounds and they're unsuccessful. So why is that? So one of the first things that we're going to talk about here, and again, I'm just kind of building on what Benson was talking about earlier, is going to be the targeting. So most new wholesalers that I see and I work with, and that hit me up on social media stuff, they suffer from improper targeting. And when I say that, I mean, one, your physical market, and two, the types of properties. So when people apply to work with me, one of the questions I ask them is, where are you wholesaling? It's like actual answers I get, and you can see. And again, there are exceptions to these rules, by the way. If you guys have done multiple deals, or if you have an extensive budget, then sure, I would encourage you to expand. But if you're starting off and you're fairly new to this, you should not be trying to do every single state in America in the beginning, right? This is where you want to be. You don't want to do, even though you hear things, hey, these are really hot markets, you want to build your focus down to one thing. My other analogy is people say, man, I've tried everything. And what I would say to you is, don't try everything. Find the thing that's going to work for you and double down on it. So my analogy here is like, look, if you're digging for gold with the, this shovel, and you dug across the entire United States, but you only dug 2 feet deep. Well, you would be, again, working hard, but you'd never find gold. But then if you have some really good tools and you find the exact area that's known for prospecting and you dig in really deep, that's where you're going to find your gold. So the first thing you want to do is, again, rehashing what Benson was talking about earlier, is you got to find where the demand is. So you want to pull a list of this investor activities, cash purchases, and you want to look at these heat maps and you want to study this stuff. When Benson talked earlier about being an expert, guys, this is stuff where if you want it to take you 6 months and you want to look at your screen for like, a couple minutes a day, you could. But when we say like, find your hot areas, you can do this in a day. Like literally close your door, lock yourself in, tell everyone like, I'm unavailable, put your phone, do not disturb, sit there for an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but just initially literally an hour, and you can find those hot markets. Know exactly where your buyers are buying. Data is king. You got to, again, reject the feelings, the emotions, the speculation, the hearsay, and everything you do needs to be justified by the data. So this exercise alone is something I talk to a lot of my students about, and like they understand it. They're like, Mike, we get it, but they don't actually do it. So, again, it's one thing to understand it. We have to do it, right? So if we're looking at something like this, it's going to be fairly obvious, right? That, maybe I don't want to work up here where there's 5 potential leads or 5 deals that have gone down. And maybe I want to come down here where there's clearly a lot more demand. So you don't want to, especially when you're starting, spreading yourself too thin. It's one of the biggest reasons why new entrepreneurs in any business go out of business. They just spread themselves, their resources, their money too thin. A restaurateur cannot open, the average one, open 6 restaurants at once. And so once you have your target market settled, it's like, okay, now I know where the demand is. I know where I want to be. What you want to do is build an avatar. And when I say that, I mean, who is the person that you are selling to? Walmart is selling to a very different demographic than Neiman Marcus. Right. And so you want to know, what are these people looking for? What are the types of houses they want to be? And you want to get as specific as you can. And this is where, like, Privy, this is something that Benson introduced to me. And I was like, wow, like this is, like I said, I got to the game a little late, but it's like, this is some really powerful stuff. So again, you want to look at what's actually sold, right? So what's actually sold. And then you want to start playing with this data, manipulating it and looking for trends. And again, guys, even if it takes you a day, a weekend, actually doing this exercise will save you, potentially 6 months worth of work. So what are they actually buying? Identify what's most likely to sell. So just for an example, in my market, I know what's selling. I know what my buyers want, and I know where the majority of them are buying, which is basically increasing my likelihood of doing a deal. So for me in my market, it might be different, depending on where you are. But for me, I know that my ideal buyer, my avatar, is looking for entry-level single-family homes. So we're thinking like, the white picket fence. I don't want to be in war zones or right in the hood, and I'm not in super high-end areas. I'm thinking like, first-time home buyers with like their first or second kid, making average money, or let's say, someone who's renting for cash flow. So in my market, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms sell really well. Over 1,000 square feet is ideal. Concrete block. I'm in Florida. We're in hurricane area, so I can sell wood frame, but buyers overall prefer concrete block. And again, I'm trying to create this avatar. No war zones, no luxury. Again, you can get buyers, and when you do find those buyers, it's fine to find them what they need. But I'm talking overall, my ideal buyer, this is what they're looking for. No gated communities, things like that. So my next analogy is basically assuming these same profit margins, which would be easier to sell in a restaurant, right? So this amazing bone hog, tomahawk steak cooked medium rare, obviously it's the only way to eat it, or this like really dry mystery meat. So everyone's not a super trick question is going to choose this here. But then what if you're in a restaurant where most of your clientele is vegan? You have to know what your clients want, because you're essentially a matchmaker. You're not looking for yourself. You're trying to find them what they want. And then the really great thing, and this was when Benson introduced me to this is something that I had never, ever seen before, especially in the way where I suppose if you try to like track it down, you could maybe find it and do it yourself, but it'd be extremely time consuming, and probably very inefficient if you even could find this. But it's this deeper dive, right? So in addition to knowing what your buyers want, their avatar, you can actually see what they're doing with the property. So these before and after pictures, which gives you probably, I think you guys can see it on the surface level how important this is, but really it tells a much, much deeper story and helps you to make better offers. So an example I'll use here, these are 2 areas that I work in. Riviera Beach, probably done 100 deals here. It's an area here in Palm Beach County that is not the greatest area in the world, right? It's kind of the hood in many areas, the majority of it, right? And then you have Boca Raton, which is like a really, really nice area. So what does that tell me? When I'm going to make my offers, again, going back to some of the information that you can find in Privy, but also just knowing that in Riviera Beach, most of these buyers, they're looking to rent these properties out, and a lot of the clientele they're renting to Section 8. So that means when we're calculating repairs, these guys are going in, they're doing a quick paint job, and they're not doing top of the line stuff because they're just renting in an area that's really not so nice. So you're not looking at these crazy luxury repairs. Now you go to Boca, these guys are putting in top of the line appliances, the waterfall showers, the granite, everything, right? And so that's going to factor in to how you make your offer. So having that type of intel is just crazy important. And it's also nice to be able to see it visually. And the thing is, just like anything else, the more you do it, really like the better idea you'll get of how these things work, right? So it's important because you got to really enter that conversation happening in your buyer's mind. Why are they purchasing the property? Again, is it for cash flow? Is it fix and flip? And that's some of the information that you're going to find inside of the software. What are their end goals? Again, renting, fix and flip, stuff like that. And you'll be able to estimate your repairs better and make better offers. And with that, making smarter offers, again, accurate comp and MLS data within Privy is updated daily. I know there's other systems out there that do that, but I can't speak to the back end. I don't know how recent, how up to date that type of information is. And then when you have your automated formulas, the algorithms that these guys have available for you, it's essentially like a done for you system where they're doing a lot of the work. Like obviously, as you get a little bit better at this, you can do some like of the human adjustments. But that's really, really going to help you. And the other thing I would encourage you to do, and I was smiling when Benson said it earlier, was you guys like ditch this max allowable offer formula, right? So that's the formula. I'm sure all you guys know it. ARV 70% minus profits minus repairs. I actually saw a lady today on Facebook in a group that I'm in, and she was teaching this, or she posted a video teaching this. And I was like, dude, it sounds like you have read an ebook that you downloaded in like 2008, and you're just like reading off this. And guys, this is a good like a baseline to start with. It's a good place to start. Yeah, just to start with. But you can't base all of your offers off of that. And the reason why is because that ideology is predicated on the fact that all your buyers are buying using the same in the box formula, and it completely disrespects the marketplace. The fact is, like, cash buyers have very different criteria, and it's very subjective. So a couple examples, like one buyer is using their own cash. They wanted a quick flip. One buyer is using hard money. They got application fees, points, 14% loan. One person's buying for passive rental income. One person just likes an area. They got like 10 houses in that zip code. They'll pay a little more. Some people are buying on speculation of appreciation. Some people are international. They just want to park their things. Some people are pulling permits. They're using a GC. Some guys are doing the work by themselves. I've seen repair estimates from one GC for 40,000 and another one from another GC for 80,000, double. This stuff is highly, highly subjective. And so when you're using a formula like that, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. What really helps is, again, coming back to this idea of the fact that everything is based on data. And that's one thing that you're going to get in Privy, right? You objectively know, it's a cheat code, man. You know where your buyers are already buying. Objectively, like this is facts in the public record. You can't fake this shit, you can't screenshot it or whatever. You know what your buyers are buying, and you know what prices they're paying and what those prices are relative to the ARV here, right? Overall. So now, like this whole thing about a max level offer and all that, it shouldn't be a problem for you. And a lot of people that I work with, like one of the biggest things is comps and analysis. And like if you were a newbie, you'd be able to take the system out the box and make offers today. But over time, like for me, there's certain areas where I don't have to look at comps. I don't have to run numbers at all. Like if I go now to Lake Worth, not too far from where I live, it's a Lake Worth beach town where I live. If I get something between A Street and K Street, east of I-95, and I get it under $200,000, I can sell it, period. I don't need to run any comps, right? So that's also something where, you know, when you're in this data day after day after day, and as you grow your buyers list and talk to these people, like you just kind of like get it, and it'll just become more or less like second nature to you. I also want to remind you, rising tide raises all boats. If you guys have concerns like, oh, limited inventory, prices going up, seller's market. Another analogy, I'm a gamer. So it's like, okay, the PS5 is sold out right now. Retails for $500. It doesn't mean people are not buying PS5s. It just means that right now they're paying a premium for it. And so when you're in the research and the data and you're looking at sales data, it doesn't mean that the deals aren't there. Maybe they're not there at the same prices that they were, 10 years ago, but that's why you have to adjust with the market, stay current with the data, look at this stuff every day, and you'll know that you can sell higher. And so that's why in my market, I've been able to sell things, 80%, 85%, some cases even more of ARV. And it's not a big deal because buyers are willing to pay a premium. So back to, Benson mentioned reverse wholesaling. And the traditional reverse wholesaling, the way I learned it, says build your buyers list out completely first and then go find the deals. And so I take it a little bit different in the sense that I said, like, yes, it's easier to do that if you have an existing buyers list, but that can take some time. It can even provide a false sense of security, and it can turn off prospective buyers if you, if you're courting them consistently, but you don't have any deals to show them. So I've taken kind of a middle of the road approach where I said, okay, you don't need a full buyers list to get started, because I'm always very like action oriented, like sense of urgency, like let's get this stuff done. So what I want you to do is like reverse engineer for the data and the intel first. So go into Privy, like find the market, find the buyers, and then start marketing to that avatar. Even if you don't have a specific buyers list built up, and then while you're passively building up that buyers list, you're actively searching for properties. And then when you do find a property, then you go back to your existing buyers, and then you can find the similar buyers for the sale. Got like a couple more, I think 3 more things to cover. I'll try and speed this thing up a little, but strategy selection. I want you guys to know that it's rarely the strategy itself if it's not working for you. Direct mail, yellow letters, RVM, like all this stuff works. But the reason why it might not be working for you is a lot of people, again, you spread yourselves too thin. You're like trying to do a little bit of everything. And especially if you're just getting started or if you're in a limited budget, that's not the way to go. Sometimes you just haven't given yourself sufficient time or operated with enough volume to see those results. And sometimes you're just not consistent. This is something where if you guys are in this system, you're using it, you want to be using this all the time. Like Benson mentioned earlier, 4th of July weekend, this is when people slack. The holidays, man, this is some of my best times of the year. That's when everyone else goes into vacation mode. And that's when I like double up my activity typically, because I also want to build momentum going to the new year. But this is something you have to be consistent with. It has to be as regular as if you're a gym person going to the gym, waking up, brushing your teeth. I tell my students, same way you get up and brush your teeth, you brush your teeth and make your offers. It's just gonna happen every day. One of the problems, I think, like when I first got started, there wasn't a lot of information out there. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I think now it's like, there's so much information. It's like my students are like, oh, it's like overwhelmed. But what should I do? Should I try this? And so this is a very crude graph I made, but it's basically like people will say, all right, I'm going to use a little bit of Privy, and I'm going to use a little bit of this system, and I'm going to use a little direct marketing, a little bit this. And again, especially for beginners, you're trying all these different strategies, all these different systems. Whereas my advice would say, hey man, go all in on one thing, right? And just focus all your effort, all your time, all your energy on that thing, on that market, on that avatar. And your next deal will come a lot faster. Now, I'm not saying that over time you shouldn't expand, move to different markets, incorporate different forms of marketing. But I'm speaking specifically to my beginners. A lot of you guys are here. In the beginning, you should focus on one thing, and one thing only, at least until, especially if you haven't done your first deal, or even if you're under like 10 deals. So you have to choose the right strategy based on your personal situation. So I can't talk to you guys personally more than I can go into today, but you have to talk about like, how much money do you have? How much time do you have? Realize that what works for you or what works for another wholesaler won't necessarily work for you. And then you want to simplify that process. I don't try to teach my students how to do more. I teach them how to do one thing and do it really, really well. And so one thing I always talk about is there's a very good ad going around, and I'm not talking smack, so it's Jamil. I think you guys know him. I know Benson knows him, but he's got this ad and he's saying cold calling is not the way. And for him, that's so true, because the guy's doing amazing, man. He's doing like 80 plus deals a month. But for some of you guys, you might need to get out there and cold call. So you need to figure out what is the ideal strategy for you. Now, one thing that I highly, highly recommend, and this works for people of any level. I'm doing this to this day. Obviously, Benson is doing this. I recommend it for all my students, but especially if you're just getting started, there are deals on the MLS. These are listed deals. Now, granted, if you're just going out trying to find them, maybe just through Zillow or something like that, they're going to be so much harder to source. But if you're pulling it through Privy, we have automated searches and algorithms and all this additional data, you're going to be able to get to those deals a lot faster. But I think if there's one thing I can drive home for you guys, it's the fact that the deals are there. Because the thing is, most people don't know that wholesalers exist, right? So imagine if you were in a situation where you got inherited a property, or you had a vacant property, or you were getting divorced, or your property had fire damage. You wouldn't say, hey, let me call a wholesaler, let me call Mike Hill. You would say, hey man, my aunt's a realtor, or I was passing by the bus station, I saw this ad, let me call this realtor. And you would tell them to list your property. Now, if your property's fire damage, something like that, it's not even gonna qualify for an FHA loan. So that's how those types of deals end up on the MLS. And then when you have software behind it that can isolate them and look at the prices and look at the ARV and kind of pull those out for you automatically, like I've been doing this for years without this system, and it absolutely works. It just takes a lot longer. So here is basically, I show you know, like this strategy works, but it's kind of like, here's the shortcut to finding it. And just so you know, if you hear anyone say MLS deals don't work, so I talked about earlier when I was saying like most people just care about how much money they're making. Yeah, like the proof is here, man. This is a couple snapshots from one of my last presentations, but this deal is $19,000 profits, 8,000, 6,000. This was a 15,000. Some people think that automatically MLS deals have skinnier margins. That's not necessarily true. 17,000. Like there are deals on the MLS, and if anyone challenges me on this, I'm doing them every single month, as are my students. Also, I just want to talk really quickly about having habits, routines, the importance of organization, KPIs, metric systems, all this different stuff, right? And so some of this stuff I've talked about already. I'm going to skip through this a little bit quickly, but you guys really got to plan this stuff out. Again, consistency is a real big part of this, but knowing your metrics really going to help you to choose your strategy. And so, if we're talking about the MLS, sourcing deals from the MLS, just knowing, for example, how many deals you have to make, how many offers you need to make can really, really help you. And, to get your deal, to not get discouraged. I know even some of the mental challenges are really there. So another analogy I like to make is like, if you were swimming in open water and you couldn't see land, you're probably going to give out and just drown a lot faster than even if you're like 2 miles away. If you can see your target, see your goal, know where you need to be, you're much more likely to hit that. And so, one metric that I use with my students is, if you guys want to write this down, you should be able to close about one of every 50 to 100 offers if you have about 300 live offers in your system. It's a rough estimate. Obviously it's going to be depending on your market, but that's just something to encourage you guys to keep going. You're going to get a lot of rejection in this business, but you have the systems, the tools, the data, millions and millions of properties. You really just got to keep going. It's just a matter of time. This is another example. I have a metrics. This is some data from a direct mail campaign. And again, if you're dealing with a minimal budget, then this is not going to be a strategy for you. But if you're trying to do one deal, for example, you should know, or you should be willing to spend a minimum of about, say $2,000. Now, if you don't have that to spend, then you need to choose a different strategy. So again, this is just to drive home the point that if you know kind of your metrics, you can reverse engineer how many calls, how many offers, how much money you need to spend, and that's all stuff that you can you can find that type of data, and then I guess reverse engineer that process. All right. So we talked about market, we talked about volume. That was the metrics piece. Two more things I want to stress is just speed. This is like really simple, but sometimes the simplest things are the most important. And so speed is your competitive advantage. You cannot steal these properties in slow motion. You can automate, you can outsource, even if you don't want to be directly involved. We got to move on these things quickly. I'm a numbers guy, like my statistics. The first to respond to a potential deal, you're 248% more likely to get the contract. And again, sometimes the most effective strategies are the simplest. And so this is another area where Privy is just gonna like help you decimate this competition. So again, this button, I remember the first time I got on a call with Benson, he demoed this for me. He's like, yeah, man, we get some patent stuff and there's algorithms and all this stuff. And like, he knows the back end. To be honest, I don't know what the hell they do back there, but he was like, man, you see this property I showed you? And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, well, click that button. I'll show you a lot more. So I was like, all right, well, that's pretty cool. So speed, man, speed is everything. You got to operate with a sense of urgency. I'll tell you, it's no secret. My one-on-one students, like some guys, I'll give a task. It takes them a week to do it. Some takes like a month. And I understand sometimes they have life situations, but some students do it in like 20 minutes and text me back. And you know who the ones doing deals? It's no surprise. It's the people that move fastest. This was a stat I found on Inside Sales, but it says you're 100 times more likely to contact a web-based lead if you return their call within 5 minutes, 21 more times more likely to enter the sales cycle. This wasn't exclusive to wholesaling, but I can tell you that most wholesalers do not do this. And then the final piece of this whole, a lot, this bunch of pieces, but the overarching, I guess, strategy I'm showing you guys is follow-up. Guys, this might be the most slept on piece of wholesaling of all time. The money's in the follow-up. Okay. You have to have an appropriate follow-up system in place. And a big part of this is staying organized. Like when I first started, I didn't have the money for any fancy CRMs. And at that time, like all these systems were going for thousands of dollars and we didn't even have like monthly subscriptions and stuff. So I'm working with an Excel spreadsheet. You can do that when you're just looking at 50 properties, but when you're hitting the volume necessary to do, to do consistent deals, you want to have it organized. You want to have a system, a place where you can go back to and look at all the deals you have, where you can go and click and download the 10,000 contacts a month, and you can go back and look at all these things. So that organization is important, so you can go back and follow up. If your offer is accepted the first time, a lot of times it means you offer too high. Not always. Sometimes you get a little bit lucky, but most of my deals are not accepted the first time. And to my point I was making earlier, a little sidetrack, but it's very hard to do that in an Excel spreadsheet. From month to month, you can go back and say, oh, I forgot about that deal next month. Sometimes you have to follow up on properties, 6 months ago. And so, the importance, I can't stress that enough. Most of my deals are not accepted the first time. And 48% of wholesalers, they never follow up on their potential leads after initial contact. So a lot of you guys that are worried about, oh, it's too many wholesalers, oh, it's too saturated, blah, 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 stuff like that. It's trash. Like if you want to think about how many wholesalers have really been in the business for a long time, it's probably not that many. At the same time, I hear people, thousands of doctors and lawyers, they're graduating every year. Nobody says, oh, it's too saturated with lawyers, right? There's far more people in the business than you think, and the people who are just getting started, most of them fizzle out because they don't do this. So like write that down, I guess. 80% of your deal is going to be maybe somewhere between like the 5th and 12th point of contact. And you really need to know, like, when should you follow up? How often? You got to have those predefined SOPs, your standard operating procedures in place. All right. So follow up, incredibly important. And the idea of going through that was just to stress, you don't have to worry about these things like inventory levels, competition, stuff like that. Those are always excuses. I can guarantee you that. A lot of people that come to me, when they come for like coaching and stuff like that, I'd say the average person comes to me, they're making like maybe between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. And then they're like, well, Mike, I heard there's no inventory. I'm like, dude, you don't need 1,000,000 houses. I said, you're in that bracket, that income bracket, 40 to 60K a month. We just need to get you one deal a month. If I get you one deal a month, not even every month, I get you one deal a month for 10 out of the next 12 months, you're going to be more than doubling your current salary. And then we'll talk about different strategies, but you'll be in the 6-figure income earning bracket. So all this stuff you're telling me about, oh, it is not enough houses, one a month, right? It'll get you there. And then we'll build from there. But that's excuses, all right? And then the final piece, I'm trying to get through this a little bit quickly, but you have to, if you want to succeed as a wholesaler, you got to find and work with legitimate cash buyers. The legitimate is underlined for a reason. Again, you got to have a Rolodex of reliable cash buyers to sell your deals to. So when I started, I thought cash buyers were like 10% of the market. Come to find out, cash buyers account for more than 40% of real estate deals. And if you're in a very strong market, like you can find in Privy, or like where I am, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, 64% of our purchases for homes was made with cash, right? Las Vegas, 62, Tampa, 58, Detroit, 56. Basically, they're more cash buyers than you would probably think, or at least more than I thought. So how are you going to find these people? Well, the best indicator of future behavior is what the FBI teaches. It is past behavior. So how I've built my list of cash buyers and how Benson has done the same is the way it works, guys, is that when someone buys a property, this is recorded in the public record, right? You can't fake this stuff. What happens is the lender is recorded, right? So you'll see here loan amount, and then you have the lender name. Right. And then when there is no name, you can assume that that's going to be a cash buyer. Is it a perfect system? No, but anything's subject to error. But you can assume that those are cash buyers, and by and large, those are your investors. So what happens is you could go through the public record and look at these one by one by one, and it would mean that you don't respect your time at all. So one of the cool things at Privy is that you can actually get all this data with the click of a button and then export it, right? And then so now you have all these buyers who are verified, and I can't stress you how important that is. Actually, I can, because that's the next slide. So basically what you want to do is you want to find these buyers, then you got to contact them. A couple ways that I've done that through the years. One is just using direct mail. This is very, very effective, more so with cash buyers than I'd say even sellers, because a part of this is, first of all, it's probably a smaller group, but also you're not just saying like you're introducing yourself, but you're also providing credibility. So you're saying, hey, my name is Mike. I'm a wholesaler. I saw that you purchased this property at 123 Main Street, aka I know what I'm talking about because I'm a professional, and I have a property at 546 Main Street. Here's a link to the property, and here's my phone number. Give me a call if you're interested. The other thing you can do is you can take that same data, go back a slide, right? And you can build a custom audience inside of Facebook based on a demographic, zip code, stuff like that, and some other what you call those filters, demographics, what have you. And then you can create a what is it called? Facebook ad that will direct them back to your website. This is fantastic because you are dealing with actual buyers. Then what you can do is you can also skip trace these numbers, and then you can call them. So you can use and then the other thing, getting ahead of myself, use that data in Privy to not only find these cash buyers, but to form relationships with realtors who have access to cash buyers. This is a major, major key, all right? You want to think in terms of collaboration over competition. I know some realtors do not like us. I know that these people are leaving money on the table, man. They are just, I can't explain it, but whatever. But you don't worry about the ones that don't like you. Enough of them do for you to make it profitable. Like if I'm at a bar and I talk to a girl and she doesn't like me, I don't say, oh, that one girl didn't like me. Now I'm out of the game. I'm just going to be single forever. Like that sucks. No, you just keep it moving until you find the relationships that work. And when you make one good contact with some of these wholesaler friendly realtors, some of them are wholesalers themselves. Some of them are wholesaler friendly. Some of them are realtors, but they specialize in cash buyers. Just one good contact, those guys might have hundreds or thousands of buyers on their list, and that data is available to you. You can find it because Privy has that information in there, so you can find it in there, right? And then the last piece of this is a question I always get. People look at these lists and they say, all right, where are the email address and the phone numbers? Because what I want to do is I want to download a list of emails, upload it to my MailChimp, and just blast everyone out there. One, if it were that easy to do that, people would just be overwhelmed with the spam. It would fail to be profitable. It's really the lazy way of doing this. One thing I'm always teaching is you want to be very much relationship oriented, right? So the reason why Privy and this list here, and this is my last slide coming up here, are better than some of these lists. Because if you look up lists of cash buyers, includes emails and phone numbers. Listen, guys, I don't know where that information is sourced, so I can't say definitively that those are bad lists. But what happens is a lot of people set up capture page websites, right? And then they will advertise and say, hey, do you want properties? Put your information in here, put your email address, your phone number, and your name, and we'll bring you lists and we'll bring you properties, right? So there are companies or people that put those ads out there, they gather the information, and then they resell it to wholesalers like you, like me, whatever. Well, I wouldn't buy that, but the reason why is because when those ads go out there, people are self-selecting into those lists. So basically, I could go to one of those websites. I could say, hey, my name is Joe Smith, and I have $5 million, and I'm a cash buyer, and I'm going to spend it in St. Louis. And then some guy would take that information and they would try to sell it to Benson. What happens is there's no way to verify that. And with a lot of those lists, you get spammers, you get a lot of realtors, you get a lot of wholesalers, you get tire kickers, you get people who are, again, seminar junkies, people who have good intentions, but they don't have the buying history. And so while there is a little, when you export this data from Privy and then you either have to send letters or advertisements or phone calls, there is a little bit more legwork. But one, it presents you with an opportunity to form a relationship, but also they're verified, man. These are people who have actually, made, you can't fake that information. These are people who have actually done that, and the addresses are legitimate because that's what a tax man's going for his money, right? That's where the owner, those are their mailing addresses. So that's really why though that information is a lot better. So on that note, guys, I think I want to stress here is just one last piece is just less learning, more action, man. Yes, learning is important, but I mentioned already, knowing is not enough. A lot of people just consuming information. A lot of you guys I know are sucker paralysis analysis. I know wholesalers, they watch thousands of videos. They could take a test on wholesaling, they could pass it 100%. They have never done a deal. So it's really time to take, really fail forward, time to take action. A story I often tell is the fact that when I did my first deal, I didn't know what a title company really did, but I was like, listen, I heard that you just send them all the paperwork, and I'll call them and I'll ask them what else they need. And I'll figure it out along the way. And I just want to encourage you guys to take action, fail forward. Benson, I'm gonna throw this back to you. I'm gonna stick around for a while. I don't know if Benson has to jump off, but I'll do some Q&A. Also, I just want to throw this out there, guys. I am doing a 30-day challenge where I'm gonna be coaching guys for 30 days every single day and helping you guys to get your first deal. If you're interested, that's the website, wholesalemike.info/30-day challenge. Thank you so much. Benson, let me throw this back over to you and see what you guys have to talk about. And thank you for your time.
Awesome stuff, man. So when does the challenge start? 30-day challenge.
The challenge is gonna start on July 6th. And my goal here is I've never done anything of this scope before, but I wanted to for a lot of people, right? People buy courses. I've been there, I've been a course junkie, I've been a YouTube junkie, but it's so all over the place. And then you don't have the live component. And then I do have mentoring, I do have one-on-one mentoring. If you guys are interested, please shoot me a DM and stuff like that. I do have space available. For some people, the price point might be a little bit high. I think it's absolutely worth it. I try to give my students a return on investment as fast as possible, but it's kind of what it is. So for this challenge, it's like, hey, 30 days, I'm going live with you every single day. And we're going to get you a deal in 30 days. And I say that also, meaning I'm gonna find you a property to put on a contract in 30 days. Obviously, it might take a little time to get that thing title company and run title search and stuff like that, and to actually close. But that is the deal, the goal. And again, with my my natural personality is to get distracted. It's like we're going to be laser focused on one deliverable. So I'll be going live with anyone who wants to join every single day, 30 days in a row. That's the goal. Get the property under contract, and then let's get the thing sold.
Awesome, man. So you guys, if you haven't signed up yet, so Mike, can you find that link? We'll put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, sure.
And we want to get as many people on there, because you guys, oftentimes it's the structure of having to be at some place at a certain time will help you build those habits that will help you kind of execute and take action. So I would definitely take part in his challenge so that you guys can start to put those actions in place that will become habitual, and then you'll eventually just do it automatically. So check that out. Mike's going to get the link.
Oh, yeah.
And for those of you that are here, I wanted to put together a bundle for you guys too, if you're interested in using Privy. So Privy is it's 97 bucks a month to month. There's no contracts. You can literally start tomorrow, find a deal like the one I just showed you guys tonight, and also like the one I found in St. Louis. Like, they're out there. You just need to take action. So but we have a bundle here that we put together. So if you want to get access to Privy for a full year, and you want access to a coaching program I put together. So I put together a coaching program where I built a course that shows you exactly step by step exactly how I went and started doing business in the St. Louis market, on everything from how I chose the market to doing my local market intelligence gathering, doing the research, finding my agent, building my buyers list, how to structure deals, how to calculate costs. Like, all this stuff is in this course. Okay, so that course, I don't price it like a normal course. Okay, this is just so you guys can be more effective with Privy. We also have coaching calls that we do once per week for a full year. On that, once per week for a full year, really deep down in training and getting deals done. So that whole course includes Privy for a year, and it has the coaching calls. That is a $1,497. Okay, $1,497. It's only $600 over what you can get Privy for the year. All right, so I'm going to put that here in the chat if anybody wants to take advantage of that. Or if you want Privy for a full year and you want to get a discount and you want some other kind of real estate investing bonuses, then we'll take 20% off of that, and that's $930 for the year. So these are the links for that. I am recording this, so you don't have to make a decision tonight. I'm going to give you through the weekend to go and actually do your research. Talk to your significant other, talk to your business partner. Whoever is in your sphere of influence. This is going to deliver way over what we charge. Again, I'm giving you the guys this so you can be effective using our tool and basically follow in the footsteps of people that are executing, like myself and like a bunch of our other people that are using Privy. Josh and James are here right now. I know they're out there killing deals.
Oh yeah,
they're both
yeah.
Privy
What's up,
users.
guys?
And so I definitely encourage you guys to take advantage of that. And with all of our plans, it's a 30-day money back guarantee. So you can definitely execute that. Everything is there. And I'm going to be there to hold your hand and make sure that you have everything you need to execute. So I'm going to let everybody go who needs to go and get some dinner, or if you're on the East Coast, maybe you're going to be going to sleep. But for those of you that are action takers, the links are there to sign up. I'm going to send you the replay of this presentation tomorrow as well. It's going to be in your inbox with the links to sign up, as well as the link to go sign up for Mike's 30-day challenge. Definitely do that. It's going to be, I'm sure, amazing training and education, right from a guy that's been doing it for 10 years, right? Hundreds and hundreds of deals, you guys. You cannot argue with that. So go sign up for that. And so for those of you that need to get going, thank you for being here. Mike, as usual, man, you were just a wealth of knowledge, and I love it when you're dropping all
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
The value bombs. It was really good. So go check that out. Appreciate you being here. And for those of you that have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But everybody else who's taken off, thank you for being here. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.